Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Multifamily Monday. My name is Jesse Greer, and I am the Vice President of Multifamily and Investments at Avis & Young. And today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm here inside the Avis & Young offices, in fact, inside my office right here. And I figure I'd talk a little bit about the Northern Nevada Multifamily by the numbers. And it's interesting because I get a lot of requests over the phone in regards to, hey, Jesse, I'd like to buy a multifamily. I'd like it to be 100 plus units, and I'm looking for value add in this market. Well, a lot of times I have to provide a little bit of education when it comes to really what we're seeing in this marketplace and how the multifamily market inventory breaks down. So today I thought it'd be a great opportunity to change it up a little bit and kind of show Northern Nevada by the numbers and really have everyone get an idea and a sense of what this market is really like. So I have a fantastic team behind me. They consist of 3 VAs that do nothing but data mining and assist when it comes to compiling all this data and putting it together. So what you see here is a compilation of quite a few years of data entry and data review and analysis to get to where we're at today. And it's actually very fascinating. I'd like to transition over to the screen here to show you what we're working with. So let's dive into the Northern Nevada multifamily by the numbers. Now, keep in mind that when I say Northern Nevada, I mean typically a 60-mile radius within the Reno-Sparks area. So you're going to see different cities like Carson City, Dayton, Fernley, Fallon, Cold Springs, Sparks, so on and so forth. So to give you perspective of how much data work our team did over the last couple of years, you'll see, for example, all of the Northern Nevada multifamily inventory that we have in our system today. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means 1,114 properties, which equate to about 51,739 units. Now, keep in mind, this is all 5 units and above multifamily. So 1 to 4 units is not part of this, this analysis, basically. So how do we break this down and give it a little bit more perspective and some ideas behind what it means to be within this property subset? Basically, we broke it down by 5 to 20 units, 21 to 79 units, and 80 plus units. Now, what's amazing about this is you see that the 5 to 20 units consist of almost 60% of the inventory in this market, followed by 21 to 79 units and 80 plus units. Now, that's only if you look at it by number of properties, but look to the right and you see by total units. Even though there's only 175 80 plus units, or about 15% of the market, it consists of almost 70% of the total market share. Now, this is pretty fascinating, and I want you to keep in mind these percentages as we move forward, because what I've done later on in the presentation is shown you year over year from 2017 to date what that breakdown means as total number of sales by market volume. So keep in mind, people, when you're calling me and you're asking about those 80 plus units where you want value add, it's really only about 15% of the total property market, but 70% of the total unit market. So it's just a small subset of properties that comprise of so many units in this market. Now, we decided to dive a little bit deeper into the analysis process and figure out of all of these properties, where exactly are they? So as you can see with this upcoming slide here, we have allocated the number of properties by cities. So you can see the city of Reno, Carson City, Sparks, and other cities that we've ran analysis on. Really, which is no surprise, is Reno has the lion's share of properties at 790 properties with almost 70% of the inventory and equally 70% of the total unit inventory. Now, what surprised me is seeing Carson City actually having more properties than Sparks. But if you look at the total number of units, Carson City actually has about 8 percentage points less total number of units than Carson City does. Now, I'm sure that was helped by a lot of the development that we have going on in Sparks as well over the last couple years. Now, we further dove into the cities of Reno, the city of Reno and Sparks, and looked at the submarkets for each one of these properties. Now, what's interesting about this is you see that the airport multifamily market consists the majority of the properties and the majority of the, well, it's actually in the top two for when it comes to total units, top three. So the airport multifamily, Northwest Reno and Carson City consist of the majority of the properties and a fair amount of the unit base as well, followed by each subsequent submarket. Now, we don't have it in this presentation, but we further dove down into each one of the submarkets and found out which submarkets have most of the 5 to 20 units, 21 to 79, and 80 plus units as well. And feel free to contact me for that information as well. Now, in addition to figuring out where they're at, we wanted to kind of break it down in a pie chart format as well. I'm a visual type of person, so you can see the breakdown by city when it comes to Reno, Carson City, Sparks, and by number of units as well, which basically parallels the same information that we saw on the last chart, just in different format. So I wanted to know, out of all of these properties, who actually owns them? In other words, are they local Nevada-based owners or California owners or other owners from out of state? Now, what's fascinating about this analysis is I figured out that with all of the 1,114 properties, Nevada owners actually own 51% of the total property inventory in this market. But if you want to take a look at this from the perspective of number of units, California owners actually own more units than Nevada owners or other owners from other states. So as property levels go, we own 51% of the inventory by properties, and by units go, California owners actually own more of the unit inventory. Now, this is fascinating, and it also breaks down to what we discussed earlier, which is the total allocation of inventory by property types. The larger units are typically owned by institutional investors or high net worth individuals that are typically out of state, either in California or other states as well. So this was fascinating. We actually did a lot of research into this and trying to break through the LLCs, break through the management companies, and get to the direct owners and where their mailing addresses are at. So let's take a look at historical sales in the area, because I think this will help sell or help solve a lot of the issues that those that call me have in regards to what they're looking for. And it gives perspective to how it relates to the inventory as well. So what's interesting is you can see that 27 and 2018 was fairly close when it came to the number of property sales and the transactional volume. Now 2019 fell off substantially when it came to the number of comps at only 65. I mean, almost a 35% decrease over the averages of the last 2 years. Although we can see that the transactional value is way up. Now that has a lot to do with the 80 plus multifamily transactions, which there's usually very minimal of, but we saw a few more this year, which brought the total transaction value up. So now if we break this historical sales chart down into the unit type. Now, bear with me. I know there's a lot of information going on here, but what we did is we broke down each year by the unit count. So 5 to 20 units, 21 to 79 units, and 80 plus units. Now, the trend in sales is very similar to the percentage breakdown of inventory. So as you can see in 2017, roughly 61% was allocated to 5 to 20 units, 23% to 21 to 79, and 16% to 80 plus. Now, those percentages are almost equal down the board to what our percentages overall for the inventory is. So as you can see, if you're calling me asking to, look into the value add or look into those 80 plus units, really the inventory is scarce. I mean, we do have transactional volume when it comes to those types of properties, but when you look at that compared to the 5 to 20 units that we see sell year over year, you can get perspective on why our inventory is so tight when it comes to those types of properties. So what I also did is broke it down by quarter to get a sense of where our transaction volume is quarter over quarter since Q1 of 2017. Now I color coded this by quarter as well. So Q1 would be the dark blue, Q2 light blue, so on and so forth. Now, what's interesting, outside of some anomalies, you can see that this market is really a market that sells during Q2 and Q3 of each year. That's where the lion's share of the transactional volume is at. Now, like I said, there are some anomalies here and there, but normally this is a Q2, Q3 sales market. And then lastly, if you go to basically 2019, we have all the information up to date, so December 2nd, and you can see that sales volume is really off. And I think that's just due to the sellers really not wanting to put their property on the market because of the returns they're getting. And if the property does go on the market, it does go on at a fairly aggressive value. So between having a limited amount of inventory and a very aggressively priced inventory, you see transactional volume really start to taper off in 2019.
And that concludes this week's Multifamily Monday. If you have any additional questions in regards to the information that I presented, feel free to reach out at 775-473-2031 or on my email, jesse.greer@avisonyoung.com. I'd be more than happy to provide you with the information that I have in regards to any analysis that you might want on your multifamily property. Once again, thank you and have a great day.